The following is a presentation of the Retro Network.
15, 64, 50, 80, 90, hey!
Hey, you guys.
Oh, my no! Oh, my no! Oh, my no!
Welcome to a Very Brady podcast. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Jimmy. And with me, as always, is the other host of the show, Tack.
Hey, what's going on out there in podcast land? Whoa!
And on this podcast, we celebrate the iconic TV show, The Brady Bunch, as we break down the bunch one episode at a time. What we do, Tack,
Yeah.
we break it down.
Mm-hmm.
We scare the piss out of each other, losing our allowances in the process, only to do the same for our maid and smash our dad's head on the floor, all for your listening enjoyment.
My God,
Yeah.
it's dark.
On today's episode, we look at Season 4, Episode 6, entitled Fright Night.
Jimmy, stop it. Jimmy, stop.
If you haven't watched this episode, please feel free to stop the podcast and go watch it before continuing. You don't have to, but it might make it a hell of a lot more funny if you do. The Brady Bunch is available to stream on Hulu, CBS All Access, but not
Amazon Prime.
See, I like that. Because it used to be on Amazon Prime. We're providing a service saying it's not on Amazon Prime.
That's right. You are welcome, listener.
Yes, you are welcome. So right off the bat, I wanted to bring up a listener.
Okay.
And this little listener is a crazy cat lady. She had sent us an Instagram or a message on Instagram, and this crazy cat lady was somehow thinking that we were roasting her. I don't know why she would think that. Because I don't think we would ever talk bad about a crazy cat person. But
Wait a minute. Is this the same crazy cat lady that drew that horrible picture?
It was. It looked like she did she was in kindergarten or something.
Yeah, what are you in kindergarten?
But I'm we're obviously kidding. Kid Hayes wrote in on Instagram. We read her letter last week, and she was talking about how she, even when she was in kindergarten, she wanted to be Cindy Brady, and she was talking about, how she, enjoys the show, and she had brought up, I guess we're talking to her, I guess. Kid, you had brought up about season 1, about maybe having some kind of message on season 1, episode 1, just kind of, saying, hey, listen, season 1 is like this, but when season 2 starts, it's like this. And I kind of feel
Jimmy, you can say it. Kid roasted us. She said,
did roast. Well, she
season 1 sucks.
No, she roasted you.
That's true.
She didn't roast me.
Yeah, she didn't roast you. You're not wrong.
No, I'm just kidding. But Kid, I kind of feel in speaking seriously for a second. Obviously, we don't think you're a crazy cat lady at all. I even told her on Instagram. I'm like, no, tax the crazy cat person, because she in Instagram. Yeah.
True.
Anyways, so Kid, I kind of feel like your message might be the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, and not in a bad way. Because Tack, what did we just get done doing?
We just got done re-recording season 1, episode 1, the pilot episode, The Honeymoon.
Yes. And in it, we kind of explained it. We kind of went by what you had said on Instagram, or in your letter. I'm sorry, in your letter. So yes. So thank you for encouraging us like that. And you kind of, put the fire under our bottoms and made us re-record that episode. So we've made the decision. We're going to re-record the entire first season. So, so thank you, Kit. We appreciate it. And, so I just want to give her another shout out for that encouragement, because that kind of, in part, for sure, made us actually do it. So, yeah. Yeah.
So if you're interested, go back and check out the very first episode. Is re-recorded. I don't know if it's there yet, but if it's not, it'll be there soon.
Yes, so, it will indeed. And I don't know how the podcast system works. So I don't know if it'll necessarily tell you when an episode updates.
I'm not sure either, because I'm just going to replace the audio that was in there.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it's not going to be uploaded as a new episode. So
no, but maybe we can put something in the Very Brady Facebook group saying, hey, it's live or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely.
see.
Yeah, we'll let
see.
you know there.
So yeah, so that's all I had for this part. I just wanted to give her a shout out again.
Well, since we're talking about it all, last week you also mentioned a little contest, so to speak.
Yes,
Not really a contest, but more of a challenge. I don't know. You wanted me to get my ear pierced again.
No, I don't. The listeners do.
No, you brought it up. Listeners didn't say shit, but
Okay.
you brought it up and you said that listeners had to write in and
Right.
say whether they were for or against, getting ear pierced for me to re-pierce my left ear
That's
specifically.
correct. Yeah.
And if we had to get 20 like emails or posts on Facebook, something like that, not like a thread.
No, we said email specifically.
Okay. So emails
Yes.
from listeners saying yes or no. And we had to get 20 by the end of the month, August 31st,
Right.
2021.
Yes. That's correct. Yeah.
So we have received 2 emails so far.
So we're 10% there. But also, I think it's only fair that if it's any Patreon subscribers, especially OPs, that counts for like 10.
Why do you say that so specifically?
Because what are the odds out of the hundreds or thousands of listeners we have that one of them that writes in is one of 2 people? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like their vote should count as like 10.
I don't think so at all, because the 2 emails we got were from Jenny and Jim. Jenny says, hell yes. And I scolded her and said, how dare you? That's how I started off. I said, how dare you? I thought you were Team Tack. And she was like, I am, but I also want to see you get your ear pierced.
Yeah.
And then Jim also said, you should definitely get your ear pierced, and I love you guys.
Yeah, and I think, I haven't checked yet, but I think Jim probably messaged me, and he probably said something along the lines of, I've given you episodes. You can give this back to me. I think he said something like that. I'm pretty sure.
Did he really message you?
No.
Oh.
No, I said I haven't checked. I don't know if he meant, but he probably did.
These are patrons. These are our producers. We technically do work for them.
Exactly, yes.
And they're our original OPs producers.
Exactly, yes.
How about this? I will add a 3rd vote just for there too.
Well, listen, look at this. Like, you can always let it close up. You're good at that, right? Oh, I just went there.
Okay, so instead of 2 votes for yes, how about, since it's them, I will say 3 votes now.
So we went from 10 down to 3?
Yeah, that's fair.
3 each?
No, God, no.
That's still only 6 votes.
That's a lot.
No, not when we have to get up to 20 by the 31st. That's 9 days away.
Interesting. I have to ponder this, maybe. I'll decide by the end of the episode.
Okay, there we go. All right. And I appreciate Jen and Jimmy.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
For that vote. So I guess on that note, we can take a break and let Tack ponder his future. And, let him caress that earlobe one last time. So, so yes. So on that note, we will be back.
Hey, Jimmy, do you like podcasts?
I do. I'm on one.
Me too.
Nice.
Yeah, and if you like a show and you want to make one yourself, let me tell you about Anchor.
Okay.
First of all, it's free.
Wait, free?
Free.
Wow. As in no money.
No money.
Nice.
And there's even creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
Wait, so if I don't have any fancy software or anything on my computer, I can still do it?
That's right.
Wow.
And now you can even add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless for what you could possibly create.
Wait a minute, not only is it free, but also I get tools in case I don't have them. And I can pick music off Spotify?
That's right. It doesn't matter whether you're doing music analysis, your own radio show, or something the world's never even heard before.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know anything about distributing and stuff. Like, that's hard work, isn't it?
Jimmy, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you.
Really?
So it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other places. They got you.
And that's free, right? They say no secret thing where you got to sign up for a subscription and you got to pay like $50 a month?
It's free.
Wow, nice.
Let me ask you something else, Jimmy. Do you like money?
Yeah, of course I do.
Guess what? You can make money from your podcast.
Well, yeah, if you have like 1,000 listeners or something.
No, that's just it. With no minimum listenership.
Wait, no, like if I have one listener, I'm still making money.
You make money.
Wow, nice.
Mm-hmm.
So despite their name, they don't weigh you down.
Nope. And it even has everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Okay, so what do I do to get this fancy dancy new Anchor stuff?
All you got to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
I'm going to do that right now.
Go do it.
I'll show you.
You will show me.
Hey there, comic book fan. We've got a few questions for you. Were you obsessed with X-Men as a kid? Did you stand in line to get a copy of The Death of Superman in the black polybag? Did you buy every Image comic no matter how long it took to hit the shelves? Then have we got the show for you. Wizards, the podcast guide to comics, is the podcast where Adam and Michael re-examine the 90s comic book boom through the pages of Wizard magazine and explore the world of gimmick covers, massive crossover events, and find out if those 20 copies of X-Force number 1 you stashed in your long box really did put your kids through college. And that's not all. We also bring you exclusive interviews with former Wizard staff members who tell behind-the-scenes stories from the guide to comics that defined a generation in our special series, The Wizard Files. And wait, there's more. You'll get mini episodes with 90s comic book reviews and more nostalgic fun. Wizards, the podcast guide to comics, is brought to you by the Retro Network every Wednesday. So subscribe today on your favorite podcast app. And remember to keep your books bagged and boarded.
And we are back.
Right.
That was a good break. Did you ponder tack? Did you caress that earlobe?
I did, actually.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you went in the bathroom and be like, I love you, earlobe. All right. Okay, so we now have the Brady Bunch Season 4, Episode 6, entitled Fright Night. Some facts about the episode. It first aired October 27th, 1972. It was written by
just
Brad.
before Halloween.
Yeah, right? It was written by Brad Radnitz. Man, it's such a coincidence. It was right before Halloween and it was this kind of episode. Oh, weird. It was directed by Jerry London.
Yeah.
According to IMDb, when Marcia holds up the slide of the ghost, the hand that is holding the slide is apparently that of a woman with a manicure. When the camera pans away, Marcia's hand doesn't have nail polish. Plus, you can tell the hand's age because it's got like wrinkles and shit on it.
Yeah.
The projection of Peter dressed up as the ghost is a slide. And since a slide is a stationary image, there would be no fluid movement on the ghost.
Yeah. I talked about that when
That
in
means that was a real ghost. They saw
Yep.
an actual ghost.
Nailed it.
Oh my God. What if it was their parent? What if it was their mom? That is so
Holy
fucked up.
Shit.
That is so messed up.
Oh my God.
That they made the ghost in the attic and like their mom died.
They're like scared of a ghost and shit.
Dude, imagine
That's probably just your mother.
imagine if Bobby was like, Mom. And see, I can make these jokes. Me and Ty can make these jokes because both of our moms died. So
Yeah.
no ready
So
to get mad.
You better not laugh if your mom was alive.
All right.
Well, you know, real
Go ahead,
quickly
sorry.
before we move on, sorry. When's the last time we saw our main man as the director?
I don't know. That's a good point.
It's been a while. What happened to him?
I don't know.
And why can't I remember his name?
You're talking about Kevin's dad, right?
Oh, no. Rudolph.
Yeah. Oscar Rudolph?
Yeah, Oscar Rudolph. Where did he get fired after like season 3 or something?
Is he any relation to Maya Rudolph?
I don't know.
Anyways. All right. So you ready to get into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We fade in. Scene 1. It's nighttime at the Brady residence, and in the den, we see Carol busy at work making a bust of Mike out of clay. When the camera pans out, we see Mike sitting in a chair posing, but is falling asleep. Carol corrects him, saying, "Honey, your head is drooping." Sounds like my honeymoon.
Hi-oh.
When Mike finally realizes what Carol said, he corrects her, telling her all of him is drooping. Then follows it up saying, even Michelangelo went to bed. Mike thinks for a moment and says, "I thought your sculpture class exhibit was on Saturday." She clarifies to Mike that it'll take an entire day to bake his head in the kiln and that it has to be fired. But then puts his foot down saying if he doesn't go to bed so he can wake up and finish the design, his boss is going to fire him.
Oh.
This means nothing to Carol as she responds with, "Ugh, okay, promise you'll post tomorrow." Mike agrees as he yawns. Carol takes a moment to admire her work, saying it's beginning to look like a real head. Mike replies, "I agree, but whose?"
Damn.
Carol flicks water at him and gives him a dirty look before smiling and kissing him.
Oh.
I will say this episode was a little bit hard to write the synopsis for because it's very staccato. The scenes aren't really structured that well, because it's a horror kind of episode. So if it seems like it's kind of jumpy, that's because the episode was that way. So I don't really like, how this synopsis came up, but that's okay. I thought it was funny that Carol just don't give a shit. Like she ain't got to wake
I have
up.
to get up early.
She ain't got to wait for everything. Like, and also like, is Carol 5? Like, how did she get all that shit all over her face? Like, like it's kind of like when you have a 2-year-old and you feed them like, I don't know,
SpaghettiOs
or something. They get it in their ears and shit. Like it's saying, is she like wiping it down and then wiping her face and shit? Like, what is she doing?
Yeah. Scene 2. In the girls' room, we see all 3 girls asleep. The camera pans to each one and then to the window. As the wind blows, we hear creaking, which wakes Cindy up and immediately scares her. With her eyes wide with fear, she looks at Jan, who is just waking up. Jan looks around and reasons that someone must be walking around in the attic. Cindy jumps up and runs to Jan's bed. As Jan looks out the window, we can see a faint image of a ghost dancing outside her window. Jan points and screams, and soon Cindy does too, which wakes up Marcia. Marcia gets up and runs to the window to see what they're screaming about. But as soon as she does, the ghost is gone, vanishing into thin air. I always wanted to always say that, like, it vanished in thin air. What is thin air? Like, what is thick air? Like,
I don't know. I know when I went to the top of Pikes Peak, that was some thin air. Kids were falling asleep and shit. Like, yeah.
All this screaming has now woken up Mike and Carol, who come running into the room to see what the commotion is about. Cindy yells, "We saw a ghost!" with Jan explaining that it was right outside the window. Marcia explains that she didn't see anything, but Cindy insists that it was the biggest ghost she's ever seen. Carol looks at her in amazement as to what Cindy had just said. Mike sits down and reasons that it was probably just the moonlight shining in the trees. Jan tries to debunk this, saying that it couldn't have been because they heard it walking around the attic first. Carol, following Mike's example, tells them that on a windy night, your imagination can play tricks on you.
What? That's not a thing. It must be windy outside because my mind's just playing tricks on me. Like, what?
My mom must be playing tricks on me or something, but, well, bro, it's windy out. Like, oh.
Well, it's like in that rap song. They say all through the song that it's windy outside. Like, my mind is playing tricks on it. They say it all the time in the song. Never mind. You're just not gangster enough.
Is that the, don't tell me, that's the Whatever Boys? Who is that?
I don't know.
My mind is playing tricks on me.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Ding, 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 ding. Sorry, anyways.
And then that group, they had like a little person, like rapper dude.
Oh, I don't know about that. I have no idea.
Guess who's more gangster than who?
Crazy cat.
Marcia
man.
tries to support logic by saying she didn't hear a thing. I like how Marcia's like very like, I didn't see nothing. I didn't hear nothing. Those two are fucking crazy.
Yeah, I know.
But Jan once again insists that Marcia was asleep and that her and Cindy heard it walking around. Carol attempts to be funny, saying, "Walking, dancing? That was some energetic ghost."
Ba-dum-tsh.
Carol then wonders why they can't hear it now. Cindy supposes that it's probably up in the attic resting. Mike, tired of this crap and wanting to just go to bed, announces that there's only one way to find out, and that's to go up to the attic and look. As Mike walks out the door, nobody wants to join him out of fear. But Mike, leading by example, walks boldly out the door, saying there's no such thing as a ghost, but it's suddenly startled by Alice, who is walking in to see what's going on. Mike reassures Alice that everything is okay and that the kids thought they saw a ghost. Alice immediately becomes sympathetic, explaining that there is no such thing as ghosts. Cindy insists to Alice that they saw it, but Alice simply tells the kids that she probably left one of her nightgowns on the clothesline, and that's enough to scare anybody in the dark. Mike giggles at the joke as Carol rushes Alice out the door, telling her that everything is under control. Mike says again that they need to check the attic, to which Carol agrees as they leave the girls' room saying goodnight. As Carol and Mike leave the room, Greg and Bobby are outside their door with some of the most pathetic fake yawns I've ever heard, asking what's wrong. But I think that was done on purpose, I think. Because they were acting like they were sleeping, like, oh, I'm sleeping.
That's what I mean. Like
Yeah.
it was terrible fake yawns. But.
Mike, perhaps smelling some bullshit, tells them that it's nothing and that the girls had a little scare, that's all. Bobby asks if they're okay. Carol tells them they are and to go to bed. They turn to go to bed as Bobby bumps into Greg's chest.
In this whole episode, I point out a couple of different people in it that I thought did a good job. Marcia was the first one. Marcia, like I noticed, like she didn't have a whole lot of lines in the scene, but the whole time you knew that Marcia thought this was some stupid bullshit. Like just the face she's making, the way she's reacting to people's lines. It's like, damn. Like, you can totally tell she thought this shit was, and I don't know. It stuck out to me. I thought she did a really good job with it. But also when they show outside, when they show the quote unquote ghosts, there's no wind outside at all. Like not even a little bit. Like trees aren't blowing, nothing. So I don't know where this quote unquote wind is they're talking about, but it's non-existent.
Marcia says that she didn't see anything, but if you watch the scene, as she looks out the window to see what it is, then they show the ghost for another probably 3 more seconds.
Right.
And then it like disappears. So Marcia's a liar. She is
a liar. She's a stinking liar. Sorry to use such harsh language, but I mean,
she's a smelly liar.
Let's call a cat a cat.
Right?
All right, scene 3. As the boys enter the room and close the door, they grin as Peter jumps in front of them with a sheet over him, making the sounds of a ghost. Greg says, "Boy, did we scare them."
Oh.
Bobby joins in asking, "Did you hear them scream?" and begins to mimic them. Greg quickly hushes them out of fear of being discovered. They'll laugh. So what I don't get, Mike and Carol heard the girls from another room, but nobody heard the boys making all that noise.
Right.
Like they were making more noise than the girls were. And yet somehow Mike heard the girls and not the boys. And their bedroom, remind you, the bedroom is across from the boys' room. It's down the hall from the girls' room.
Right.
And on the other side of the hallway. So I thought that was kind of some bullshit.
Scene 4. Up in the attic, we see Detective Carol on another case.
Hell yeah.
Investigating to see what could have been heard. Detective Carol walks over to the window with blowing drapes and asks, "Now I wonder who could have left this window open." Carol then realizes that a rocking chair has been left right in front of the window, and when she rocks the rocking chair, it creaks. As they look at each other, Mike exclaims, "I believe we found our ghost."
Yes. Detective Carol looks so proud of herself. She's like,
Another
see
case
that
solved.
shit? Mm-hmm.
So last season when Greg wanted his own room, remember
Right.
that episode? And then he got the den or whatever.
That's correct, yeah.
Carol stupidly suggested that why can't he just move into the attic? And Mike laughed at her, saying, "Sure, if he only wants a room 4 inches high."
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I wish Mike wasn't a liar.
Unless they have 2 attics.
But what about no, not the 4-inch attic, Mike. The one that's like has 10-foot ceilings. You know, where we keep all that stuff and a rocking chair.
Yeah. He probably figures we got all Carol's shit up there. He can't live up there. The only one that has any room is the 4-inch attic. So I don't know. Scene 5. Down in the girls' room, all the girls and Carol are gathered with Mike. Marcia begins asking what they found. Mike tells them it was nothing and that the creaking they were hearing was the rocking chair. Jan, still looking scared, asks, "Yeah? Well, who was in it?" Carol tells her nobody. Cindy tests Carol's intelligence, asking her how she knows nobody was sitting in it. Carol tells her because the chair was covered with dust.
Detective Carol's on the case.
Cindy reminds her that ghosts don't leave any marks when they sit down.
Mm-hmm.
And that everybody knows that.
Duh.
Mike, exhausted and over all of this, tells them that there was nobody in the attic, nothing in the trees outside, and tells everyone to just get some sleep because he has to wake up in the morning and do a fucking project, and he's tired of these damn clay busts and all the fake fucking ghosts, and damn it, he's tired.
Hell yeah.
No, he doesn't
Poor
really say
guy.
that. But he does tell everybody that there's nothing in the attic and no ghosts in the trees, and asks if everybody can get some rest, to which they all agree. Carol, kissing Cindy on the cheek, tells her to dream of nice things. They all say goodnight as Carol and Mike leave the room.
And don't forget to point out that Mike kisses Marcia on the lips.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Ew, that's creepy.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
That's like you kissing Randon on the lips. Like they're about the same age, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but like, mistake, accident, tit. No, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of which one's weirder, but they're both pretty weird.
Well, it's the same thing. It's still a 14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I like how Marcia laughs when Mike said that there's no ghosts in the trees. Like straight up, she's like,
Marcia is like judging and
She is,
like,
yeah,
you guys are so fucking stupid.
because she's like on tune with what Mike's saying. She's thinking logically. He's like, there's no ghosts in the trees, and she's like, so.
Who believes ghosts in the tree?
Exactly.
This guy
These
believes
kids
ghosts in the
over
tree.
here.
Oh man.
These fucking noobs over here believing in ghost trees.
Scene 6. As Mike and Carol leave the girls' room and walk towards their bedroom, they can hear the boys giggling in their room. Mike pauses and says, "I think the ghosts are right in there."
Mm-hmm.
Detective Carol says, "Wait, seriously? But wait, you said they didn't." Oh, you mean the boys. I get it. Mike and Carol go to bed.
Silly Carol.
Detective Carol will solve a case one day on her own. I know she will. I believe in her.
That shit would have been so funny if she was like, "Wait, what? Seriously?
How do you? I thought you said there was.
Honey, aren't you worried about the boys? They're in there with a ghost."
Mike just pats her on the head and walks past her. Good night. I'm going to bed.
No, seriously, Mike, come on. We got to help these kids. All right. Scene 7. Back in the girls' room, Jan and Cindy are sitting on the bed. Marcia comes over, sits down, and says, I bet we don't see any more ghosts tonight. Jan asks what makes her so sure. Marcia assumes her sisters can read between the lines and says, "I have a feeling they've all gone to sleep." Cindy, in shock, asks, "In the attic?" Marcia clarifies and says, "No, across the hall. Greg, Peter, and Bobby. I bet they rigged the whole thing." Jan, realizing what Marcia is saying, agrees, saying, "You're right." Actually, she goes, "You're right." Like that. They're always playing tricks on us. Cindy, sick of the entire
Positively, absolutely, always.
Cindy, sick of the entire thing, simply says, "Those monsters." But after thinking about it, asks, "Are you sure?" Marcia explains that tomorrow they're going to do a little detective work and bets that she can prove the entire thing. Jan, with newfound bravery, explains, "That's right. We don't have any ghosts in our house. We have 3 rats."
Jen goes, "Where?" So it looks like Marcia is following in Detective Carol's footprints, or should I say footsteps. Junior Gumshoe Marcia, so she's a little junior detective.
I got a feeling that junior detective Marcia is way more competent than Detective Carol.
Yeah.
Why is Cindy the only one wearing a nightgown?
Well, I saw your comment when I was watching it, so I was like, let me look. And so I looked, and the other two are just wearing PJs.
Yeah.
But she's wearing a nightgown.
I just thought that was strange. I would think it would be the opposite. I would think that as they get older, they would want to wear nightgowns, because Carol has all these ridiculous flowy nightgowns. So I would think that the girls would want to copy that, but
Carol always wore the same shit my mom would always wear to bed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My mom.
Not for very long when I was there.
Mom so much. Oh, God. Scene 8.
The floor would be wearing it.
Mm-hmm. The next day, the boys, oh boy. In the boys' room are 3 junior detectives in training sneak into the boys' room and close the door. Marcia gives out the orders to split up. Let's split up. Jan takes the closet, Cindy looks under the beds, and Marcia takes the dresser drawers. Jan, I'll look in Greg's drawers. Janet asks what they're actually looking for. Marcia tells her she's not sure, but she bets they'll find it. Cindy gets excited and announces that she found something as she lifts up a slide projector. Marcia, trying to solve what's going on, asks what a slide projector could be doing under Greg's bed. And Jan's just like, well, I mean, there's porn, so.
Well, it's dark under there, Marcia. Duh. It's a slide projector.
Greg projects porn on the ceiling at night. Anyway, Jan agrees, saying it's usually in the family room. Marcia notices that there's a slide in the slide projector and holds it up to the light to see what it is. It's Carol naked. No.
She's like, you just have to believe me. It's a ghost. Nobody needs to see it.
Jan sees it first and says, "Hey, it's somebody with a sheet over their head." Cindy explains further that it's one of the boys under a sheet.
How does she know that?
I don't know. Junior Detective Marcia then deduces that they aimed the projector out the window and onto the tree. Cindy is still not satisfied, asks how they explain the creaking in the attic, or that it's video and not just a picture.
Exactly.
Marcia explains that it still could have been the rocking chair and that the boys could have moved it from their room with a rope. Cindy is still unsure. Cindy's still unsure what Marcia means. So Marcia demonstrates on a chair in the boys' room. She loops a rope around the chair, pulls on it, making it rock, then pulls one of the ropes to make the rope fall off the chair. Cindy, finally seeing what she means, is impressed, announcing, "That's really smart." Marcia then decides that the girls have to get back at the boys for what they did. Jan agrees, saying they need a dose of their own medicine.
So I totally see what it meant when they said the hands don't match. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You're like, that's definitely not. I mean, it might be Flohen's hand, but it's not Marcia's.
It's probably just some production assistant.
Well, I should have checked to see if Flohen had that color nail polish on. That'd been interesting. Do you not keep slides in a slide projector? Like, why was it so strange? There's a slide in it. Well, yeah, it's a slide projector. Like, what? Why would you not keep?
Would you expect like a ham sandwich in it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be like them saying, "Oh, look, a photo album, and there's a picture in it." Well, yeah, it's a photo album. Like,
yeah.
Also, where are the boys? So that, I mean, where the girls can be in the room for this long without being noticed? Like, what?
Mm-hmm. Could have been anywhere. A ball game or something, or playing at the park. True. Something that 70s kids did.
Okay. Scene 9. Down in the family room, we see Alice walking in with a plate of what looks like pie. She walks into the room with a, "Excuse me, folks. I hate to disturb the artist at work. You left the dinner table before dessert." As she walks in to see Carol once again working on the bust of Mike, with Mike patiently posing in a chair. Carol politely says, "No, thank you, Alice." But Mike eagerly accepts his, saying, "I'll have mine." Alice gets a look at the bust and compliments her boss, saying, "Well, that's coming along just fine." Carol happily accepts the compliment with a, "Yeah, thanks." But before Alice leaves, she stops and quips, whoever it is, as she walks out. As Mike is sitting there enjoying the dessert he didn't get after dinner, Carol looks up and notices him eating. And with the look, she says, "Mike, can you hold your mouth still, please?" Mike, not having it, tells her that she can work on his forehead. Carol, trying to school Mike on the art of creating a bust out of clay, tells him that she has to work on the entire face at the same time. Mike, still chewing and not caring, turns his head and says, "Do an ear." Carol then pulls the sympathy card and while looking sad says, "Mike, please." But Mike, tired of sitting, says, "I thought it was supposed to be the artist who was supposed to starve, not the model." But offers Carol a bite in exchange. Carol simply says, "No, thank you," and continues working.
So I was thinking, if Alice makes dessert for every meal,
Right.
let's say it's pie.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. It's pie.
Pie. Sorry. And everyone gets one slice after dinner.
Correct.
Alice can get away with making just one pie because 8 people, 8 slices.
Right.
But if Alice would ever want some too, she'd have to make a whole second pie just so she can have some too.
This is true. You're right.
But then, now think about this. So now there's 16 pieces if she makes 2 pies. But like 9 pieces will be gone immediately after dinner. But now there's only, 7 left.
Well, what makes
So
you
now
think...
not everybody can have seconds, even though I assume that would just go in the fridge and kids would eat out of it, throughout the week or whatever.
Right. But why would you think that... why would you think that they only cut it into 8 slices?
Well, I mean, it's a normal sized piece of pie. I mean, I guess you can cut it up into however many you want, but
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Good point. She probably makes 2,
I would think so.
just in case somebody wants seconds.
Yeah.
Or she has 2 and just gives really big slices of pie. Because that was a big slice of pie.
I think that was cake and ice cream on the plate.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't understand why Carol can't work from photos. You know what I mean?
I was thinking about this. One thing you don't have with photos is dimension. So you're really kind of working with dimensions here when you're sculpting. So
Okay.
it's easier to see dimensions, obviously, with a live model in front of you, so you can kind of get things just right. Whereas a photo, I guess you could work from a photo, be a little harder. But
Does it really take that long to do a bust of somebody?
I don't know.
Because it takes her like 3 days.
Well, she's still new and it's a class. So
That's
I don't
true. And she sucks.
know. Scene 10. At the dinner table, the kids are still sitting down, eagerly awaiting dessert. Alice walks out with a whole tray of cake and ice cream. The kids all ooh and ah as it comes
Ooh.
out. Ah. As the girls begin getting their dessert, Marcia asks Cindy, "Are you still scared, Cindy?" Cindy plays along, replying, "Boy, I don't think I'll sleep tonight." Peter inquires, "How come?" Jane gets serious and tells him, "Because of that ghost. I think we ought to lock our windows and doors. It's probably your mom."
That's so fucked up.
The entire time the boys are nudging each other and smiling. Alice cuts in and says to the girls, "You're only scaring yourselves worse than the non-existent ghost did. And there's no such thing as ghosts. Right, fellas?" The boys all agree. Marcia exclaims, "I'll still never go up in the attic ever again. I don't want to run into your mom." Cindy agrees.
That's so fucked up.
Cindy agrees, saying she won't either. Not with that ghost around. Peter pipes up, saying, maybe we should charge him rent. All three boys start cracking up. Jan challenges them, saying, I bet you guys wouldn't go up in the attic. Greg, thinking this is a joke, looks at the boys and says, she putting us on? The girls clarify, at night with all the lights out.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby replies, anytime. Marcia presses further, saying she bets they wouldn't. Greg stands up for them, saying he bets they would. With the boys hooked in, Marcia, Jan, and Cindy all bet them their allowances if the guys aren't brave enough to go up there and spend the night. The boys, eager to make a quick buck, begin to laugh in disbelief, saying, you're kidding. Your whole allowances? Greg accepts the challenge, first saying, I ain't afraid of no ghost. I'm not afraid of any ghosts in the attic. Are you guys? Bobby and Peter both eagerly agree, saying it sounds like easy money.
Mm-hmm.
Greg then sets the terms, saying the boys' allowance against the girls, that they won't spend the night in the attic. Marcia then reminds them, all three of the boys, all night. And with all of them shaking hands, they agreed that Alice will hold the money.
See, my first thought was I didn't think there was room up there for all three of them to have room to sleep. Because when they first show it, there was a lot of shit up there. Like, there was a bunch of stuff crowded around everywhere. So I was thinking, where are they going to sleep at? But also, the boys can't see this is a setup. Like, come on now. Like, they can't be this dumb. Like I say. All right, scene 11. A little while later, we see all three boys in the den talking to Mike and Carol, asking permission to sleep in the attic. Carol, unsure, simply says, I don't know. Mike, whose bullshit detector is starting to activate, asks whose idea it was. Bobby, still not believing the luck the guys are having with this easy bet, says, the girls. What a cinch bet. Peter pipes up, telling Mike that it's for their own good. And if they survive, then the girls will know the attic isn't haunted. Carol, seeing right through this charade, asks Mike, well, isn't that heroic of him? But makes a good point, asking, and who's going to help the girls get over their disappointment when they lose their allowance? Greg attempts to counter, asking Carol, poor or wise, which is more important? Mike, perhaps seeing this is going to end badly, smelling some bullshit, and probably remembering that Marcia didn't believe the ghost stuff at all in the first place, asks Carol, well, what do you say, honey? Carol decides that since the next day isn't a school day, then okay. The boys get super excited and run off. After the boys leave, Carol leans into Mike and says, it'll give the girls a chance to get even too. Mike laughs and says, I don't know what's going to happen, but you can count on it.
Whoa, Detective Carol can already see what's about to happen. I was impressed.
I was impressed. Yeah. But Mike was onto that shit like the night before. As soon as he saw Greg, he's like, wait a minute. Why was Greg standing so close to Carol?
I saw that
what
too.
What the hell?
He was standing behind her. They're practically like kissing.
Shit.
With his like dick like pressed against her hip or her ass. Yeah.
She's like, why do you have the car key? Oh. And why was Bobby's pants hiked all the way up to his like chest? Like he had him he was dressed like an old man. Well, first of all, his belt was like an adult man's belt and it looked like it was like 16 inches tall. And second, his pants were hiked up like past his belly button.
Was he like a 40s gangster?
Apparently, Apparently that's what he was trying to look like.
Ghost. Scene 12. Up in the attic, Alice is helping the boys set up their sleeping arrangements for the night. Greg thanks Alice. Alice answers by telling the boys that she thinks the girls made a sucker bet. Bobby agrees, saying they should have bet their allowances for the entire year. Peter, thinking he already won, says, I can count the money now. Alice begins to leave, but before she does, she strikes a zombie pose and jokes, telling them not to be afraid of things that go bump in the night. Boo!
Yeah. I was doing that.
They also
I was doing a Vincent Price impersonation. Sorry. Yeah.
They all say goodnight to Alice and lay down. Peter, feeling overconfident, displays it by saying, "Come on, ghosts, come and get us." To which they all just laugh. Greg then takes his turn, proving his manliness by saying, "Hey, Bobby, boo." To which Bobby jokingly acts scared. All three boys just laugh.
So I wonder whose high chair that is.
Yeah, there was a lot of baby stuff up there.
Because, I mean, on one hand, I guess Cindy's the same age as Bobby, but on one hand, I was thinking that it was Mike, but they lived in a different house.
Well, they probably brought it over. Maybe they were going to have a baby.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. This kind of like I watch UFC. I know you don't watch a whole lot of it, but they do this thing in boxing and UFC where if somebody gets punched and a lot of times they get rocked a little bit, they want to try to act manly and act like it didn't hurt. So they'll like give them a weird look and look at the audience and shake their head no, like it didn't hurt. But it's common knowledge that when they do that, it fucking hurt. And I kind of feel like the boys are doing the same thing. Like they are kind of scared because they're like, "Ghost, bring it on." But I got a feeling
Right.
Individually, each one, probably except for Greg, really is scared. They're like, "Shit, I'm glad they're up." Like, especially Peter. Peter don't have shit to worry about because he's in the middle. But you know Bobby's scared. You know he is.
Yeah.
So. All right.
Let's see here.
Scene 13. Outside of the girls' room, we see Alice come down from the attic and close the door, smiling and chucking at how the boys were joking. After she leaves to go downstairs, we see the girls slowly peek from the door. Cindy begins by saying, "They're all up there." Jan follows saying, "All systems are go." But Marcia corrects her saying, "You mean all systems are ghosts?" And the girls just giggle maniacally as they close the door, shushing each other. They're like,
So that's totally me right there.
"Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
I love to scare people so much. But whenever I'm hiding out, usually always by myself, I'm hiding out waiting to be able to jump out and scare. I giggle and give myself away. I giggle to myself to the point where like tears are rolling down. That the anticipation is so funny for me. To where I just giggle and laugh. I'm like, shh. I'm trying to hush myself. Shh. Okay. And that's what I give myself away.
And it's
People walk
never,
out, "Let me guess, Tag, you're hiding behind the door."
and it's never as good as you think it is. Because even when you scare them, they're just like, "The fuck, dude? Why are you standing there?" And then like, that's it. That's the extent of it.
I don't know. I've had some pretty good scares in
Yeah?
my day.
I don't know.
I've been pretty proud.
I was born with very little reflexes, so I'm not trying to brag, but it's really hard to scare me. I don't really scare
Challenge
easily,
accepted.
yeah, so
My kids always try to scare me, and they're always like, "Dang, why can't we ever scare you?" I'm like, "Did it scare you at all?" I'm like, and then when they do, I'm like, "Yeah, you scare me." I was like, "But you didn't even jump." Like, I don't know. Inside I did.
So I put down G because this won't backfire in all their faces. But also, I thought this episode gave a little bit more of an interesting layout of the house. Like we get to see where the attic is in relation to the bedrooms, and the show on HG Network or whatever it was got it totally wrong.
Oh man, that must feel so stupid.
Yeah, right. But also, it's interesting to see where the attic entrance is. I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Even the last scene had a different weird angle too.
It did, yeah. So, all right. So this is where we take our next break.
All right.
So the boys have agreed to bet their allowances to prove that they can sleep in the attic all night and not be afraid. And the girls bet their allowances that they couldn't. Will the boys prove their masculinity? Or will the girls prove that even adolescent males get scared too? Will the ghosts return?
Zoinks.
We will see. We will be back.
Hey guys, if you love a Very Brady podcast, then go online and check out the TeePublic merch store. They got everything in there. They got t-shirts, coffee mugs, hoodies, stickers, magnets, pillows, and there's so many different t-shirt designs to choose from tanks to V-necks, If you want it, they got it. So go on there, check it out, order a t-shirt today or a magnet or a sticker. If not for yourself, get one for that Brady Bunch fan in your life. And guys, let me tell you, I ordered a couple of t-shirts to come in so I can check out the quality myself. And I got to tell you, I'm quite impressed. And I'm a bit of a t-shirt snob. It's got to be just right, the right thinness of material. Pretty similar to like t-shirts that you get like at Target. It's very thin, very comfortable material. These guys over at TeePublic definitely know what they're doing. And you want to talk about t-shirt colors? Of course, I only wear black all the time because it's slimming, but you can get pretty much any color under the sun. So go online to the TeePublic merch store. The link is in the description of this episode. And always remember, have a sunshine day.
And we are back.
Hey.
That was a good break.
That was a
I
good
feel
break.
so
I
rested.
hold my back a little bit.
Yeah, right? I didn't realize you could do a handstand that long.
Well, I mean, plus I was trying to do that, like turn the handstand into like a flip from hand to hand instead of feet to feet.
See, I thought you were going to go the thing where you drop down into the splits, but you went with the flip instead. It's cool.
Yeah.
Neat. Nice touch.
Surprise. Yeah. You like that?
You change and adapt. So I thought we would, I mean, this episode deals a lot with fear and scary and ghost and all that kind of stuff. Do you remember any times, well, I guess I shouldn't say any times, but was there anything as a kid that made you scared? You know what I'm saying?
Are you setting me up for something?
No, not at all. No, I'm just trying to make general conversation. Because I know you, but the listeners don't.
I know. Like something generally scare me? Like,
yeah, like, I mean, was it scary movies? Was it, I mean, do you remember times sleeping in your bed and you were scared, or, you know, is there anything like that you remember?
Yeah, I remember it happening a lot as a kid, but I don't remember specific stories. But like, I remember being a kid. I used to live in this, I was like 4 years old, living in this really old, big brown house in Indiana. And this house was literally on a hill, the only house on a hill. And in fact, there was even a portion of it where my mom was kind of looking in my closet and she found a door.
Neat.
And she like opened this door that didn't even know was there.
Did you go to Narnia?
Opened the door, and it was so pitch black in there. She went and grabbed a flashlight and shined it in there. And she told me that she's like, as soon as she shined the flashlight, that is hard to say. As soon as she shined the flashlight in there, it immediately went straight onto a painting of a man with the meanest face she's ever seen in her entire life. And it scared the shit out of her.
That's awesome.
And then she said she kind of looked around, there's a bunch of shit in there. She just shut it and like never opened it again, which I think that's fucking cool as hell. And I would love to go exploring in there. But that was kind of a neat story. I will tell you this. I was going to wait to tell you once we did the scene, but basically the next scene I remember watching as a kid, and it fucking creeped me out. Like, it scared me. Yeah. And I told my son about it, and he goes, well, let's watch the episode. And when we watched that scene, he agrees. He goes, I could see why that creeped you out as a kid. I get it. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
When I was 5, my parents thought it was a good idea to let me watch The Exorcist. And that's to this day, I don't like watching that movie. That movie scared the shit out of me.
How? Like, what part of The Exorcist is scary? Unless you have like a young girl tied to a bed in your house, how is that scary?
No, well, because at the time there was a lot of reports going around that people were claiming they got possessed watching it at the movie theater and watching it at the drive-in and stuff. And so, you know, that plays into the mindset of a 5-year-old. That'd be like Luke watching it. You know, if he hears, oh, people get possessed by the devil when you watch this movie, that scares the shit out of you. It's like, I don't want to watch this. Fuck that.
That makes more sense. I remember your sister always claimed that was the scariest movie she'd ever seen. And I still am like, I don't get how. But,
well, like, do you like movies like stuff like Paranormal Activity or, you know, any kind of supernatural stuff? Or do you think that stuff is just ridiculous?
No, I like if anything ever scared me as a kid, movie wise, it was always something about ghosts.
Okay, so it wasn't the whole possession thing; it was the execution of the movie.
Possession did nothing for me, but ghosts and stuff like that, Paranormal Activity, not specifically the movie Paranormal Activity, but just anything like Poltergeist. Watching that as a kid was scary.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Having said all that, do you believe in ghosts?
I don't know. Me and my son talk about this a lot. He's very interested in it. I don't know. I'm definitely interested in the topic, and I've been out like ghost hunting and stuff before, but I've never really caught anything. And a lot of evidence videos and stuff like that, like I don't necessarily believe. Some are interesting, and it's hard to explain, but I don't know. You?
I feel like you can't believe in the Bible if you don't believe in ghosts. So by default, I do.
Okay.
I don't believe in like paranormal activity. I don't think that they come around and like try to move shit and try to talk to people. I don't think any of that's real. I think that's all imagination. I don't really think it's anything more than that. But yeah. So I do, but I don't believe it in I don't think they do parlor tricks and shit for people. Like I don't think they walk around old houses and like move shit around and stuff. That's just dumb. So.
I'd be interested to know if any of the listeners out there have a really like true ghost story that they'd share.
But I mean, what is a true ghost story? You know what I mean? Like just like this, you can hear wind up in your attic and think swear up and down it's a ghost.
Well, we'll read their stories and then we'll laugh at them and debunk them right to their faces.
Yep.
Even though it's about like, well, my grandmother, I swear she came and like sat at the end of my bed and told me a story. I'm like, nope, she didn't.
But it's always something like, well, I had this friend of mine that was a psychic and they said there was a dead dog running around my house. Like, are you hearing yourself? Like, what are you talking about?
I don't believe in psychics at all.
Yeah. So, or orbs.
Orbs. Nope. Don't do it. Nope.
So anyways, I don't want to get too deep into that because that's not the kind of podcast, but all right. So you ready to get back into this?
Let's get into it.
All right. When we left off, our three brave men had risked life and limb to spend the night up in an attic and bet their allowances that they would not be afraid. Will they be victorious, or will their fear get the best of them and make the girls rich in the process? Well, let's get back into it and find out.
All right. Scene 14. Late that night in the attic, we see Greg, Peter, and Bobby sound asleep on the floor. The camera pans over to an old trunk as we hear an ominous voice say, "I feel warm, very warm." This seems to stir Bobby awake as he rolls over towards Peter. Then we hear the voice say, "Air. I must have air." By now, Peter and Bobby both are beginning to wake up. Bobby has now heard the voice and asked, sorry, I had to bring old Vinny Price in.
Yeah, right.
Bobby has now heard the voice and has asked, "Huh?" The voice speaks again, saying, "Let me out. I must get out." Peter, thinking this is Bobby, and says, "Get out and be quiet." Bobby, hearing Peter talk, wakes up asking, "Huh?" Peter, now getting upset, tells Bobby to go to sleep and be quiet. Bobby, unsure what the fuck is going on, asks Peter what he's yelling about and tells him that he's trying to sleep. Peter then tells him to stop talking and to sleep then. The voice then speaks up again and says, "I'm burning up. I've got to get out. I'm your mother. I'm burning in hell." Oh my God.
So fucked up.
By now, Peter has had enough as he sits up in anger and tells Bobby to stop blabbering. But Bobby gets equally upset, telling Peter that he's not blabbering. The voice then speaks up so Bobby and Peter can both hear it, saying, "I must have air. Give me air." Peter looks at Bobby and asks, "Who said that?" Bobby tells Peter that he thought it was him. The voice then begins to moan, finally saying, Oh, yeah? Let me out. As it says this, the latch on the trunk unlocks and the lid begins to open by itself. Peter and Bobby are growing more and more scared. As the lid opens, we hear the voice once again say, I'm burning up. I must rise and walk the night. I'm free. And that's when we see it. A horrible, scary, morbid, clear plastic bag shaped loosely like a human, slowly rising up out of the chest.
Stop it, Dang.
The voice says again, I'm free at last.
Good God Almighty, I'm free at last. Sorry.
As the boys sit, unable to move, by now the ghost has risen all the way up out of the trunk and is floating toward the ceiling. Peter and Bobby completely freak out frantically trying to wake up Greg. Bobby and Peter scream and run out of the attic. Greg sits there staring at it and slowly realizes that it's not a ghost at all.
The whole time watching this, I'm thinking, man, these kids are going to be exhausted by the end of this weekend.
Mike is going to be exhausted.
Right? How much would it have sucked if the girls fell asleep? And they forgot to do all this stuff. They wake up to, we got your allowance. Like, shit, we fell asleep.
They set an alarm.
I bet you can't do it again.
Double or nothing.
But I put down again, like, what is Peter worried about? You know, the ghost is going to get Greg or Bobby before they get him. like he's in the middle. What's he worried about?
Yes, kid logic. He's in the middle, he's safe. Yeah. Or if he's under a blanket, he's safe.
I was going to say his feet ain't showing from underneath the blanket, so he's fine. It's funny when Peter says the line to stop blabbering, you could tell he's trying not to break. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
He's trying so hard not to laugh.
Yeah.
But also, they don't recognize Marsha's voice. It's her sister, man. Like,
I know.
She's not even disguising it. It sounds just like her.
Yeah.
He thinks it's Bobby, but he don't realize that it's Marsha.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the scene that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. It creeped me out because it had a good creep factor about it, which I was impressed by.
Yeah.
Not just a cheap jump scare.
That's true.
So
I hate jump scares.
Yeah. Like this one. All right.
All right. Scene 15. Down in the master bedroom where the magic happens.
Ooh.
Carol and Mike have heard the boys in the attic screaming and have begun getting out of bed with here goes round 2 of Battle of the Ghosts. They exit to the hallway just in time to see Peter and Bobby running down the attic stairs. But when they get to the bottom, they turn to talk to Greg, but he's not there.
Oh my God, where is he?
They frantically begin calling to Greg to see if he's all right. It's right about then that Mike walks up with a boys, girls. What's going on? Peter,
what is going on? Sorry.
What is going on here? Peter and Bobby start frantically explaining that there was a ghost in the attic and that it was coming out of the trunk when Marcia comes out of the room yawning, asking what's going on. Bobby immediately tells Marcia that it's safer down here than it is up there. Marcia realizes right away that the boys lost the bet. Peter and Bobby are so convinced that the ghost was real that they don't even care about the bet when they may have lost Greg.
Oh my God.
Mike, tired of 2 nights in a row of not getting any sleep, puts his foot down, saying, "Ghost time is over," followed by Carol solidifying it, saying, "For good." They all begin going up to the attic to see where this ghost came from. Bobby and Peter try to stay behind, but when Mike notices, he pushes them both in the direction of the attic and follows them up the stairs.
I noticed in this shot that Bobby's hair really looks blonde.
Yeah,
here.
now that you've said that, I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. Mike looked at Marcia like, "The fuck are you doing here?" It's kind of the way he looked at Greg. Funny.
Scene 16. As they arrive in the attic, Carol comes up first and gasps at the sight of the ghost, but is relieved when Greg pops out from behind it. Greg bravely announces that it's cellophane wrapping paper with 2 fishing line that go over the beam, out the window, and down to the girls' room. Carol gives Marcia a look of pride as Peter asks how they got the voice in the trunk. Carol looks in the trunk and discovers a tape recorder. Marcia explains that they ran the line down to the room and turned it on when they were ready. Peter looks impressed as Mike says, "Very ingenious." But Bobby is a little irritated, saying it isn't fair and they got tricked. Marcia fires back saying, "Well, you tricked us." Mike puts a stop at the bickering, saying they are both even and the joke is over. Carol follows up saying fun is fun, but reminds them that they can carry a joke too far. For instance, you could scare someone and they can end up running into the lid of an open trash can or running away from Freddy Krueger and get hurt. Huh. Is that an inside joke, Jimmy?
Yes, it is. Because you ran into an open lid because you were running away from Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, that's a story. I think we've told this story on here before.
Yeah.
Mike seeing a pattern, developing and nipping it early, makes the kids promise that there will be no more scaring each other. But Greg argues, saying, "But the girls would take our allowances." Carol then takes the opportunity to remind Greg of his famous quote, "Poorer but wiser, which is more important?" Greg, seeing that Carol is right, crosses her arms and says, "Zapped again."
I don't get the zapped again, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Bobby was the other one. Marcia and Bobby. I love the acting that they did in this episode because even in scenes where they didn't really have a whole lot of lines, again, like you could totally tell what they were thinking the entire time, reacting to every single line being said. Like, I don't know, just kudos to that. Kudos to the director for giving them that direction, if that's what happened.
I love to do that in a group setting. You pick one person to watch who doesn't have lines.
So
It's good.
Scene 17. Down in the kitchen, we see Alice pouring all the money into Marcia's hand. Marcia thanks her. Alice boasts, saying, "I said all along, it was a sucker's bet." Greg, calling her out, tells her that she said the girls were making a sucker's bet. Alice fires back to Greg that anyone who believes in ghosts is a sucker. Marcia asks Alice if she's afraid of anything. Alice confidently answers, "Nope." Greg presses the issue, saying, "Oh, come on. What about horror movies and vampires?" Alice brushes it off, saying that vampires give her a pain in the neck. She then realizes the pun she made and compliments herself, saying, "That was pretty good." Marcia continues on asking, "What about werewolves?" She answers this by saying they're all bark and no bite. She then compliments herself on the pun again by saying, "Oh, Alice, when you're hot, you're hot."
Woo!
She then walks out, chuckling to herself. After she leaves, Marcia looks at Greg and says, "I don't believe her." Greg smiles and says, "Me either. I think if she saw something really scary, she'd break the record for the mile run." Greg then gets an idea and asks Marcia if she'd like to try to make her run. Marcia smiles and is tempted, but reminds Greg that they promised no more scaring. But Greg corrects her, saying, "We promised we wouldn't scare each other. We didn't say anything about Alice. I mean, she's a maid." And they both laugh. They both smile and glance Alice's direction.
Alice says she ain't scared of anything, but I can remember several episodes where Alice was screaming in
hell
fear
yeah.
of something.
Wasn't there one outside where Greg was out there jerking off or something? Like, what was it? No, he was out there working out with weights.
Oh, yeah. Clank.
Yeah.
Clank, yeah.
She thought somebody was breaking into the house.
So, also, Marcia says, "What about werewolves?" She did not say werewolves. No. Did you not? Me and my son were watching it, and then she said it, and I was like, "What'd she just say?" And my son was like, "I don't know. I know what she was trying to say." So we backed it up a few times. I even had closed captioning on just to confirm that she was trying to say werewolves. But she said, "Warwolves."
Oh, I don't know. I was only reading closed captioning.
Go back and watch it.
Interesting.
She said, "What about werewolves?" I was like, "What was
Werewolves?
that?" We must have watched it like 3 or 4 times.
Huh.
Warwolves.
Werewolves. We should get her to say it now. See if she says it the same way.
Maureen McCormick, could you say werewolves?
Yeah, say
please?
werewolves and send it in.
Werewolves.
This must have been
Which I think is actually cuter.
this must have been the time where Maureen McCormick and Barry Williams were dating, because just the way they look at each other, they look all lovey-dovey. You know what I mean? Did you notice that or no?
I didn't, but I wasn't looking for it. So, scene 18. Down in the kitchen, we hear the phone ring, and we see Alice, who stops peeling a potato to answer it with her trademark Brady residence. She then softens up by saying, "Oh, hi, Sam. Oh, sure, I'd love to go to a movie tonight. Which one? Well, if it's my choice, I'll take the drive-in movie where we both have seen the movie." Okay, bye, Sam. And hangs up the phone with excitement. Carol enters carrying something heavy and covered with a towel and says, "Hi, Alice." Alice, who seems startled, says, "Oh, Mrs. Brady, I didn't hear you drive up." She was scared. That's different. As she runs over to give her a hand, she realizes what she's carrying and says, "You finished Mr. Brady's head. How is his head, Mrs. Brady?" Carol says, "It's not too bad, especially after I shave."
After Carol shaves? Oh, I get it. I thought I was thinking face. Never mind.
Now, Carol smiles and says, "Fresh out of the oven." Alice says, "Huh. And to think I used to be the one to give him..." Oh, never mind, Miss Brady. That was funny. Alice, only seeing a head, says, "It looks more like it's fresh out of the hospital." Carol then decides she wants to take it into the living room. As they pick up the head, Alice nervously says, "Mrs. Brady, speaking of head, if you don't have anything for me to do tonight, I'd like to go to a movie with Sam." Carol happily says sure and tells her that her and Mike are going to a sculpture exhibit. They continue to carry Mr. Brady's head into the living room. As soon as they leave, Greg and Peter pop out from the family room with huge smiles. Greg excitedly says, "Perfect. Mom and Dad will be gone all evening, and Alice will be out for a couple of hours." Peter finishes the thought saying, "That gives us plenty of time. Wait till Alice gets back." Greg smiles saying, "Yeah, let's see how she really acts with ghosts." Yes, quite.
Now my first note is Alice gonna score. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't make any doubts about it either. She's like, "Well, no, we're gonna go to a movie we've already seen because we ain't gonna be watching it."
Why can't we just go to your place, Alice? It was like, well, we got fucking kids here,
Yeah,
and I probably have to get permission to have sex.
Does he live with his parents or something? Where does he live?
I don't know.
But also the entire scene, Peter doesn't start rubbing his hands together the entire time. He's doing this the entire time. Like what? Is there something wrong with your hands, man? Why do you keep rubbing them together like that?
Right. That's what you do when you're concocting an evil plan.
Not in real life. People never do that.
Sure. I'm doing it right now.
But he's rubbing him like an old-timey villain. It's just like...
Anyway. So Alice asks if she can have the night off, and Carol's response was, "Sure, Mr. Brady and I are going out." But what if they weren't? there could be a thirst emergency if we were at home. Or what if Mike wanted a midnight snack? What would we do then, Alice? Get it ourselves?
Or what if Carol decided she wanted to work with fucking clay at night and make Alice clean it up?
Right.
She cleaned that shit up. She made Alice do it.
Alice, I'm done with my clay. Jeez. And then if she gets any on the porch,
yeah.
Alice will kill her.
Alice cares about that porch, but she don't give a shit about the family room. That's because she ain't allowed in there. So, scene 19. Out in the living room, we see Mike carrying his head and Alice all dressed up. Let me rephrase that. He's not carrying Alice dressed up. He's only carrying his head. Alice is walking. So Alice is all dressed up, ready to leave.
Oh, okay.
Not being carried. Mike is giving the kids last minute directions saying, "Now listen, If you need anything, Alice is at the movie theater and your mother and I are at the art exhibit. Carol reminds them to be nice to one another, and Mike adds, don't tear up the house. As they walk out the door, the kids wave and say goodbye, telling them to have a good time. As soon as they walk out, Marcia, Greg, and Jan jump into action, saying, let's get ready for Alice. Marcia, still nervous, says, oh, if Mom and Dad find out. Greg stops her, telling her there's no way. Alice's movie is over at 9:15, and Mom and Dad won't get back until way after that. Marcia responds, and Alice for sure won't tell on us. She's a fucking maid, and she works for us, so she ain't gonna do that shit. Greg adds, she couldn't. When we get through with her, she'll be speechless. And they all three just laugh maniacally. So why doesn't Mike's bust have a fro? Why does it have his old haircut if you don't have his hair like that anymore?
He wasn't full perm yet.
But then what the fuck did she have him model? Like she sat there she made Mike's model for this shit.
Yeah.
So why is his hair wrong? What was she looking at? Damn sure wasn't him.
You had to say that to Carol. Huh. What the fuck were you looking at?
This sure as fuck ain't me because my hair looked like that. I don't know what you were looking at. You must have been watching TV. This must be the news anchor or something. I don't know, but it ain't me.
Oh my God. That's funny.
Also, Marcia was like, that bitch wouldn't dare telling us. She says it's so like authoritative. She's like, she ain't gonna do it. Trust me. She ain't gonna do it.
She's not. Marcia's got something on Alice.
Yeah. Oh, Greg does. Huh. You know, Greg does. What they do behind maybe Marcia at this point is in on the whole weed sessions behind the garage.
Maybe.
So Marcia looks at Greg. She's like, she ain't gonna tell us. Trust me.
Sure. But how do you know?
Oh, we know.
I know. All right, scene 20. Yum. Getting ready in the boys' room to scare Alice, we are treated to a fake skull with a red light, making the eyes, nose, and mouth glow. As the camera pans out, Greg asks Bobby how it looks. Bobby answers, real creepy. Greg laughs, saying, this ought to flip Alice out. Over in the girls' room, we see Marcia with a ball and a clothes hanger that her and Jan are hiding under a blanket to make a ghost. After which, they add 2 eyes and a nose. Marcia holds it up and asks Jan how it looks. Jan tells her it looks a little bit long. Marcia tells her, of course. Have you ever seen a ghost in a mini sheet? They both just laugh. Back in the boys' room, we see a close-up of Cindy. She begins to let out a blood-curdling scream.
That was a good scream,
as the camera pans out. Oh, yeah, it was fucking great.
Oh, that was an amazing scream, yeah.
Really good scream. As the camera pans out, we see she's screaming into a microphone of Peter's recorder. Peter, happy with how she did, asks her to do it one more time, to which she does in true horror movie fashion. Even Vincent Price was like, that's a scream I can sure to die for. Sorry. After Peter presses stop, Cindy admires her work, telling Peter that she screams great and that she almost scared herself.
Mm-hmm.
God, that was such a good scream.
That was.
Holy
yeah.
shit.
So Greg is holding a flashlight to his skull, so he's just going to like sit there behind it. Like, don't look at me. Look at the skull. Do you see this? Okay. Just don't look at me. You're looking at me. Stop looking at me. Okay. But yeah, I admit that was.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
That was a badass scream. That was another note I had.
Yeah.
Scene 21. Down in the living room, we are seeing the final setup for the big scare. They've attached the ghost onto a zip line that runs from the top of the stairs where Peter is hammering a nail into the wall to the bottom where Greg has tied it around a support beam. Once it is in place, the girls begin to push the ghost up the line to the top of the stairs. Jan admits that it even looks spooky coming up the line. Jan tells her to wait until Alice sees it coming down in the dark. Now that everything is ready, Greg is telling everybody what's going to happen while walking through it. Okay, now Alice comes in and the room is dark. The lights won't work, so she heads for the fuse box. As he walks that direction, he tells them that he's going to flip on the skull light. Peter pipes up saying his scream is going to go off. Cindy corrects him saying her scream. Greg continues. Alice turns towards the screams like this. Then Marcia adds, "We let the ghost down the stairs." Bobby gets excited and says he kind of wishes it would happen to him. Greg announces for everyone to get into their places and tells them, "We've spun our web. Now we just have to wait for the fly."
So every scene has to end with Greg going,
Yeah, exactly. And Peter wringing his hands. Why is Peter using pliers for hammers? They don't own a hammer? But I like how Cindy acted like the skull actually startled her. In this episode, for some reason, I was really in tune with people's, like, in acting, they call it business, like stuff they're doing when they don't have a line. And like as soon as he turns the light on, she like startles for a second and she starts laughing at herself for getting startled. So
Scene 22. It's now late at night, and all the lights are out in the Brady residence. As the camera pans around, we see glimpses of the kids hiding in their hiding spots. Greg, of course, is giggling like Tack would. I so would too. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh yeah. And they show just outside the front door, and we see not Alice, but Carol and Mike coming home, and Carol says, "I hope the kids are still awake so I can show them my ribbon." Mike reasons that they're probably in bed because all the lights are out. But Detective Carol argues her point and says they couldn't have been in bed long because it's still early. Back inside the house, we see Cindy, who bursts out laughing with excitement. Greg quickly hushes her with his hand. As the door opens, Greg whispers to everyone, "Here comes Alice." So stupid. It's not Alice. I'm so excited.
You're starting to giggle now. It's not even you scaring him.
I know. So excited. Okay. Shh. Mike and Carol walk in the front door. Mike tries the lights, but they don't work.
Uh-oh.
Carol looks around, confused, wondering what is going on. Carol spots the skull first, and her mouth drops open. Peter takes his cue and turns on the screams on the tape recorder, while Marcia drops the ghost down the stairs. All this has no effect on Mike and Detective Carol, who simply says, "Guess who's at it again?" Greg and Cindy realize what's happened first, and Greg lets out an, "Oh no, it's Mom and Dad." Bobby whispers back, "Boy, are we in for it." Mike puts, himself down on the ledge by the front door and says, "I think I better go fix the lights so we can see who to yell at." All the kids stay in their hiding spots as Carol and Mike walk through the dark to the fuse box. Just then, Alice walks. Oh, this is going to be good. Alice walks in the front door and is immediately taken aback by how dark it is. She spots Mike's silhouetted head sculpture in the dark first and is spooked, asking, "Who's that? Who's there? Somebody there?" When she doesn't get an answer, thinking this must be an intruder, she takes a huge swing. She smashes the bust of Mike all over the floor. All the kids are confused, this odd behavior, and right when Alice realizes what's happened, the lights come on, revealing that smashed figure all over the floor. Carol and Mike walk in to see what has happened. Carol exclaims, "Oh no, Mike's head!" Alice begins to apologize immediately, saying, "Mrs. Brady, I'm sorry. It looked like a real man there in the dark. I thought it was real. You did such a good job." Mike assures Alice by saying, "Well, it wasn't your fault." Was it, kids?
Mm-hmm.
He got fucking mad, too. I was like, damn. He looked fucking pissed.
Haven't been that pissed since the wedding.
He must have just gotten into it with Sherwood Schwartz right there. Greg answers first with a, "No, sir. We had it all rigged up to scare her." Carol, pissed off at her precious statue, adds, "Like I said, if you carry a joke too far, somebody can get hurt." Peter pipes up with, "We never thought it would be Dad's head." Jan feels bad, saying, "Gee, it won a prize too." Carol picks up her ribbon, defeated, saying, well, so much for third place. Mike gets pissed, saying, all right, that does it. Everybody upstairs, no allowances for 2 weeks, and that goes for all of you. And he pointed to Alice. Carol, who was so upset over a fucking statue, she commits child abuse as she strikes her child on the butt, saying, come on. Bobby complains, going up the stairs, saying, there goes my model airplane. Ooh, that fucking spun me up when he said that shit. I thought for sure Mike was going to be like, what was that?
Yeah.
Nothing. That's what I fucking thought. Jen adds, I guess we deserve it. As they walk up the stairs to their room, Mike starts taking down the ghost. Carol spots it and says, that's one of my good sheets. Then turns and gives the nastiest fucking mom look ever. Good mom skills, Carol.
Yeah.
I just commented again about how Mike was fucking mad.
Yeah, right? I can't believe how much of a baby Carol's being about all this. Come on.
I mean, she worked hard on it. I mean,
who cares? Jesus. My God. You have to go to your stupid art show, didn't you? Just shut up. You got the ribbon. Scene 23. The next morning at breakfast, Mike and Carol are at the table as Alice comes up with a coffee pot asking if anybody wants more coffee. Alice begins to vent, telling Mike and Carol, I feel so guilty about what happened last night, folks. Carol tells Alice not to worry about it. Carol then lights up, telling both of them that she started a new project today. No. Carol then lights up, telling both of them that she's starting a new project today. Just then, Bobby and Cindy come walking into the room, proudly holding the bust of Mike, saying they fixed it. We then see the statue glued back together with glue all over it. Carol sees it and says, well, thanks for trying. Mike sees it and says, wow, doesn't look any different than it did before. No. Mike sees
that looks exactly the same. Well, I can't believe how good they did that.
Mike sees it and says, wow, looks like I feel when I wake up in the morning. So why are there so many damn napkins on the table? There's 6 napkins on the table. I'm like, what is all that green stuff? It looked like green tissue paper everywhere, and it was all their napkins. I love how Mike is already, he didn't even know what it is, but he's already not looking forward to the project. He's like, great. I'm either going to lose my afternoon or my maid. One of those two things is going to happen.
Not going to get any sleep.
Nope.
Scene 24. In the kitchen, we look out through the dining room and into the living room to see Mike come in through the front door, which is the weirdest shot ever.
It is, yeah.
He walks in and says, hi, honey, but gets no answer. He hollers for both Carol and Alice. Carol! Alice! That's all he ever does.
Yep.
But gets no answer again. He walks into the kitchen, hears Carol in the family room saying, in here, honey. He walks in to see Alice in a sheet, dressed like a Greek goddess, complete with a vase on her shoulder and the other hand on her hip, with Carol and a huge chunk of clay sitting on the table. Mike just laughs and walks into the family room. Still chuckling, he asks Alice what she's supposed to be. Alice replies, I am a classical Greek. What?
Yeah, that's how she words it, yeah.
Yeah. Alice replies, I am a classical Greek, Mr. Brady. Carol proudly announces that she's starting a new project when Mike says, oh yeah? Oh yeah? Carol announces that she is sculpting a Greek statue. Mike looks at it, looks at Alice, and finally asks, what's it for? Carol looks at him like he's crazy and tells him it's for the backyard. She goes on to say that she's going to put a large bowl under it so she can use it for one of two things. She then pauses just to make Mike ask, such as, she answers, oh, well, for one, a bird bath. Mike laughs hysterically at the answer, but sees that Carol isn't joking and slowly stops before asking, well, what else? Alice answers, well, if I pucker up, I can be a fountain. She then strikes a pose, puckering. Carol and Mike just laugh.
Please tell me, out of all the costume things that I've brought up, please tell me you noticed Mike's
I noticed
jacket.
his fucking jacket. Yes.
Holy crap. It looks like a jacket that Michael Jackson wore, like in a Thriller video, but the blue one.
No, Mike looks raw. Raw.
You're talking about from Eddie Murphy?
Yes.
Yeah, God, that was a horrible jacket. And what is Carol wearing? Like she's wearing some kind of weird kimono thing, which I know you've said, yeah, your mom had one, but it sounded like a joke. It wasn't a joke. You had said that your mom owned one, but not when she's sculpting out of clay. Like, why would you wear that? Like, but I put down Carol and Mike look more goofy than Alice does because of the outfits that they're wearing. And I would 100%, if there's anybody out there that does this, right? We probably have at least one listener that sculpts things out of clay. Yeah. 100%, I would buy a statue of Alice dressed like that with the bowl on her shoulder, with the vase on her shoulder. 100%, I would buy that.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be
as
awesome.
long as it looks like Alice. Like, I'm not talking about just some chick with a thing on her shoulder. It has to look like Alice.
Yeah. Like it has to be like the sheet over the shoulder with her uniform underneath.
Exactly. Yes.
That's funny. And those extensions in her hair. Yeah, that'd be funny.
And that's the end of the episode.
All right.
Yes. That was a good one. That was an iconic one, I feel like.
Yeah. I feel like it was.
Yeah,
to me, it was.
Yeah.
It's spooky. It's kind of scary.
It was one of, quote unquote, those episodes. You know what I mean? Like people say, oh, remember that episode where...
Memorable one.
Yeah. Remember that episode where they scared each other? Remember that episode, where Greg, did whatever? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You ain't lying. All right, Jimmy. So I have an email to read.
Okay.
All right. So this email comes to us from Gabby.
Gabby Douglas?
I don't know.
No, I'm joking. It's a gymnast. I don't think she listens to this.
Oh. All right. So there's no subject.
Okay.
Usually it's fun subjects for the emails, but I guess not for Gabby. And we've heard from Gabby before.
Oh, okay.
She's just emailing us again.
Again.
So she says, "Hi, Tack. It's your Amish electricity using alcohol drinking friend from Oregon."
Oh, so I don't have to listen to this one. Okay. Go ahead.
I had to send. You just go get a drink, Jimmy, or something.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Be right back. Bye.
I had to send a note to say, "I'm happy you and Jimmy are back. I think you both needed the break. While the last episode of season 3 were funny, it did feel like you were losing some steam.
Ouch.
But I've been laughing out loud with these Hawaii episodes, trying not to wake up my husband." Remember, she's the one that
that's
sleeps
right.
next to her
Yeah, I
husband?
remember her now. Yeah.
Yeah. She goes, "Good stuff. I can imagine you guys probably get a little burnt out on it toward the end of the season. You both deserve as many breaks as you can get. I absolutely love your podcast and always look forward to it. Thank you both, you and Jimmy, for giving us a laugh. So much crazy crap in the world, it's a great escape. Oh, and on the Vincent Price voice, you guys had me laughing so hard I had tears in my eyes."
That's awesome.
"Well, thanks so much, Gabby. I will now always think of Stewie when I see Price. My brother used to have a Vincent Price album, Telltale Heart. I'm going to pass along your comparison. Stay well, and thanks again,
That's cool.
Gabby." And I did a comment or a message back to her. I go, "Yes, I always appreciate your correspondence."
I mean, a lot of podcasts, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, we always appreciate," they do that whole thing. "We always appreciate the email, blah, blah, blah." Like me and Tech, have said in the past that both of us came from podcasting, and, we were both on a podcast called Taint Funny, and, Tech's been on a few of his own, like I think 3 other ones that I remember.
Yeah.
And me and Tech had talked for a long time about me and him doing a podcast because we knew we bounced off of each other like this fairly well.
Yeah.
And like as you're seeing, like we do get burnt out sometimes, but honestly, it's not from the podcast. It's some of these episodes, they're just not very funny. Like, you know what I mean? Some of the episodes, they're just not very good. Like one of my favorite shows that I was fortunate enough to be in was a show called The Complete Works of William Shakespeare Abridged. And it's where they make fun of all the Shakespeare stuff. And they point out in it that, you know, his dramas were funnier than the comedies. And if you think about it, it's really hard to make fun of certain episodes, because some of these episodes might just be either really funny themselves and there's nothing to really make fun of, or the storyline wasn't deep enough into the characterizations where there's just nothing to make fun of. So that was happening on a few episodes. So if you detect it, I can promise you that we're not tired of doing this. There is some background stuff, like having to do a synopsis every week and having to edit the episode that gets a little tedious, but by no means.
It's basically script writing every week for hours and doing some research. It takes a lot of hours to do every episode. That's the part that tires us the most. Yeah. Actually, recording and joking around, that's the best part. We never get tired of that. Yeah, that is so much fun to do.
I would say every episode probably takes an hour and a half to 2 hours to write a script for.
At least. Yeah. Good Lord, sometimes longer than that.
And then with Tack editing, I would say he probably edits 3 hours, 2 or 3 hours.
Each episode probably takes about, probably 3, maybe sometimes even 4 hours. It depends per episode.
So having said all that, when we say that it's emails like this that help us, it's 100% true. It's not us blowing. We're not doing that typical thing where we're like, no, it's emails. It's you guys. No, legit. Like, because me and Tack, when we were on Taint Funny, I think the duration of Taint Funny, we never got a single email from anybody. And so it's really neat being on a podcast where
we get to hear back from you guys.
Yeah. Like we were even talking, or Tack was talking to another fellow podcaster that was admiring how much our audience interacts with us. So yeah, keep the emails coming. They by all means, and they've helped the show a lot too. Some of the negative ones were. So, so yes.
No, they're great. We absolutely love them.
Yes.
We appreciate it so much.
Definitely. Yeah.
So keep them flowing in. Yeah, they're so awesome.
Yeah, and definitely. And don't be afraid to correspond with us individually. Like you see us, I'm sure you guys have come across our Facebook profile, or feel free to say hi to us. Feel free to friend request us. We don't care. Like as long as you're not like a weird stalker or anything.
Like Kid Hayes.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Just kidding. Kid, we're gonna pick on you a little bit more this episode.
Right. So yeah.
All right. So, Gabby, we had fun here today. Don't be offended. We do love the show, and we're not racist or sexist.
No, definitely not. We'd also like to personally thank our producers from Patreon, because without you, this couldn't even be possible. And Jenny, Jim, you guys are the OPs. But we have a new one in the ranks.
We do.
Our homegirl, Kit Hayes, has decided to be a producer. And so for that, we are greatly appreciative. Producer. And I guess that means we have to stop picking on her, because she's kind of our boss now. So,
so Kit Hayes, you look nice today.
Yeah, we really liked this. That was a really, really good picture you sent us. And just, your emails and your messages are full of such wit. It just had us laughing and inspired us. So, yes.
Now you're roasting her again.
No, I'm not. I'm complimenting.
All right, we got some homework assignments.
We do, yes. No, but for real, Kid Hayes, we really genuinely legit appreciate it. We really do.
Hell yeah, for sure. All right, so go check out our website. It's at averybradypodcast.com.
Yes. Do a rate and review on Apple Podcast, Podchaser, or CastBox, or wherever you listen to your podcast.
And tell 2 friends about the show, or if you have a couple enemies, tell them.
Or in-laws.
If you don't like it.
Send an email to the show and tell us how you like or dislike the show. averybradypodcast@gmail.com.
Join the Facebook group and join in on the conversations and the fun. And it's very active right now. Yeah. It's a Very Brady Facebook group.
And some of the people are coming up with stuff that we didn't catch. Some of the people are coming up with stuff that's just funny, like memes and stuff. Like, you guys are great. It's awesome. It makes me feel like I need to step up my game a little bit, because people are pointing out stuff that I didn't. If you'd like to be a producer, like Kid Hayes did, check out the Patreon at www.patreon.com/averybradypodcast. And it's kind of set up sort of like a store where you subscribe to a certain amount or whatever, and then you get stuff in the mail. So it's not just like randomly just throwing money at somebody.
Exactly. Yes. Check out our Instagram at A Very Brady Podcast.
Yes, definitely. Follow us on Facebook and get real-time updates on whether the show's going to be late or, how Tack's feeling that day, that kind of stuff.
And go check out our network. It's called the Retro Network at the Retro. It's really hard to say. It's theretronetwork.com.
Yes, so definitely. We highly encourage you to check them out because if you like the nostalgic part of the show, you'll like them too. Check out our TeePublic store for merchandise. Link in the description of this episode.
And we have a new shirt in there, so it's got the Taboo Tiki Idol on it.
Yes. I thought I was wearing it, but I'm not.
And most importantly, go watch the Brady Bunch.
Yes. And Tack is now going to tell you about next episode.
On the next episode, Season 4, Episode 7, entitled The Show Must Go On.
Like the Queen song?
Greg and Marcia recruit their parents to participate in a family frolics night at the school.
Man.
Alice is upset with Sam when he passes a chance to be her date to the event to go to bowling practice. So the girls launch a plan to change his mind.
Interesting.
So we have now come down to what we discussed earlier.
Yes.
About the piercings and all that, or piercing, I should say.
Yes.
Does Ginny and Jim's votes count double? How's that?
I guess we can do that. I think it should count more than that, but yeah, okay.
I will count them as double.
Okay.
So we have 4 votes now out of 20. So if you would like me to get my left ear pierced, this is all from last episode, last week. Jimmy wants me to get my left ear pierced again because he feels cheated. And he wants to shoot a video on it and post it on Instagram or wherever we're going to post it. And I have to get 20 people to email into the show saying that they are for or against it.
And I'm imposing the rule that comments don't count. It has to be an email.
Right. Yeah, you can't just like have a thread and
because it's too easy for somebody to say, sure, go for it. Well, no, that could be anybody. They may not even listen to the show. So it's got to be an email, unfortunately.
It's got to be an email, and they can email the show at verybradypodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
And if we have to get 20 votes by the end of the month, August 31st, 2021. Hey, Jimmy, what if we get 20 no's before then? Does that mean we're done?
That means you get your right one pierced.
No. Just nobody send an email then.
If you listen really closely, I actually did say that in the last episode, but that's not what we agreed on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, Jimmy, you had brought up an idea real quickly. I want to discuss this real quick because if you like it, let's do it. You had mentioned an idea, which I loved, that people should send in like an audio clip of maybe about a specific episode that we haven't done coming up. You know, like, oh, season 4, episode 9, there's this part where you can see Mike.
Yeah.
You know, he takes his shirt off in the background, or I don't know, something like that. And then people can like send in an audio clip or a video. We'll just take the audio from the video. I don't care how they do it.
Right.
And then play that part on the show when we get to that part.
Yeah, so like to clarify, like let's say I'm sitting at home and I'm watching the Brady Bunch, or you're listening to an episode of the of the podcast and you remember something because we got some listeners that have this stuff memorized that just know it. You know what I mean? And they'll be like, wait a minute, they didn't